Breaking Bear. This is an odd show. Basically, if you don't know what this show is, this is a Tubi original animated show. Which, yes, Tubi has original like programming, like other streaming services, which is really funny because they're a free service. Which isn't really a bad thing. Like, it's good that there's a service out there that's free and that you can have, things out there, right? So, and it's a good service. I'm not complaining about it, but it's just kind of like, oh, that a service that I don't know. Though what's funny is that Tubi makes more money than a lot of the streaming services, even though it's free because they have ads. So maybe they could afford to have more animated or original programming. Anyways, this show caught my attention because at first I was like, a Tubi original animated show. Let me check that out. I've never heard of that. And Tubi's kind of been on my radar ever since they announced that Scooby Doo anime show's going there at some point, which I will be reviewing as well. But, I was like, oh, check this out. I watched the first episode, didn't really vibe with it, didn't really get where it was going for. In fact, it was a terrible pilot. Because the main part of the pilot is like, basically, the one bear is like Yogi Bear, where he likes human stuff, and the other two bears don't really like human stuff, but then they wake up to find all their shit's destroyed, and then there's some weird Breaking Bad parody, and by the end of it, they start selling drugs with the Breaking Bad parody guy, uh, and that's kind of the premise of the show. It wasn't funny. It was very boring. It felt very long. It was a terrible introduction to this show, and so I quit watching. But then I saw another ad on social media for this show and found out Brendan Fraser, Josh Gad, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer were the main voices, which I barely recognized. But after I watched the second episode, I was like, oh, okay, now I hear it. Um, so I decided to watch the rest, and I still didn't like this show. This show is very like standard, like adult comedy stuff, where it's very raunchy, very um, like in your face about its jokes. It has some violence and dumb stuff to it, but it's none of it's clever. Like most adult animated shows just aren't very clever. I appreciate the different premise. It's not another like family sitcom with the same kind of tropes that you see. It is a little bit of a weirder premise, but it honestly, this show doesn't really do anything with the Breaking Bad parody aspect to it. It's just an excuse for the characters to do drugs and go to weird places, and make some political gags that will make this show age very terribly. Like, I hate Trump as much as the next guy. I hate everything to do with that fucking man. But goddamn, this show, it's like I'm watching this episode where they make fun of MAGA people, and I'm like, I'm laughing at some of these gags a little bit, but I know that it's gonna age terribly. Also, the Jeffrey Epstein episode. Yes, Jeffrey Epstein is a character in this show that they tried to sell drugs to. Uh, Not realizing he's Jeffrey Epstein, they just go to a bunker or whatever, and they realize it's his bunker. That gag ages terribly because there's no jokes about Trump in relation to that. And I'm gonna be honest, as someone who hates Trump and everything to do with that fucking man, I am getting sick of like every show I watch, every once in a while, just having some kind of like joke about current events, so much so because I'm already horrified and stressed out about enough of the shit going on, especially being a trans woman. Right? And so, like, I don't really need every show I need to do that, especially shows like this where the writing's not clever. Because it's one thing if you're doing that and the writing's really clever, then I could kind of look past it a little bit. But this shit, I don't feel that way. It's not clever. It just is aggravatingly dull and unfunny, and I hate it. Um, the animation to the show is really boring, and and some of the jokes here just like they're really fucked up and kind of gross. Like there's one scene where just I don't even understand what some of the characters are when they make jokes like this because Brendan Fraser Bear sees a picture of I think Jeffrey Epstein wrapped in an American flag or some shit, which again without making the Trump parody jokes. Some of the jokes just write themselves. Anyways, he starts jerking off to it and he gets really horny to it. And I'm like, was that in his character? Like that he just gets horny to random naked dude pictures? Like, is he gay? Like, there's just jokes like that where this is a show where none of it feels really like defined or of note or you know, like it's like all of it feels like it's a not finished pilot of the show, but for 8 episodes. Like it feels like the jokes and the characters and what they'll do and say don't feel well defined enough to be like, okay, that's what they're going for, or they don't feel just, I don't know. It just, I'm trying to think of words to describe it, but I really just can't because it's just nothing. It's a nothing show. Um, and to be honest, I'm making it sound like I hate it more than I actually do. I don't actually hate this show. I think it's very just unfinished and not well polished. And I mostly just watch these episodes in the background because after about 3 episodes, there wasn't much I could really get out of it anymore. So I just kind of watched them all in the background just so I could do this review. But yeah, don't watch this show. It's kind of a shame because I love Brendan Fraser. I love Buffy, right? I'm forgetting the actress's name, so I keep calling her Buffy, but you know what I mean. Like, she's good and stuff. Josh Gad, you know, I like him in some stuff, but I'm not a Josh Gad person like a lot of people. But yeah, here we are. That's the thing. So yeah,